Very cool. So this is the second time around. You're technically hosting this, but I should be thankful. So Matt works at Shopify. I'm bringing him onto the channel because I thought it would be cool to get perspective from someone working at a company like Shopify that's going really, really fast, and I think has some pretty direct correlations to like the world of freelancing and Fiverr in particular. So we're going to go through a bunch of questions in this kind of conversation interview. But Matt, if you don't mind kind of starting, like, tell us about yourself. Like, you actually work at Shopify Plus, so like what's the difference and what do you do?
Yeah, you got it. So yeah, hi everyone. My name is Matt Monette. I'm a senior account executive at Shopify Plus. I've been with Shopify or Shopify Plus for just under 4 years now. So a lot of people know what Shopify is, and Shopify is basically the core platform. So a lot of smaller companies who are looking at getting online for the first time look for an e-commerce solution, and that's really where Shopify comes up. So there's 3 basic plans. There's basic, professional, and advanced. And then for larger companies that are typically doing $1 million USD plus in turnover, will opt for Shopify Plus. It gives you additional features, more customization, aligned resources to provide a little bit more of a white glove service. So that's typically what I focus on. And typically in the mid-market to enterprise space. So I work with brands like Spotify, Nestle, you name it.
Cool. So happy that you're taking the time to do this. Basically, why I wanted to do this is like I follow Shopify, obviously. As a publicly traded company, it's like grown like crazy.
I know, man. I know.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to chat with you. Like, what types of companies are fueling that growth? Like, who are Shopify's clients? Because I think that those are the people who are applicable to the audience on this channel, but also like generally what's fueling the growth.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, regardless if it's like just standard Shopify or Shopify Plus, it's a feeder system, really. It's almost like the MLB or like any sort of like a football team or any sort of like professional sports team. We can use that analogy. So standard Shopify, like we're seeing so much steady growth in such an influx of merchants, really at this stage, based on the impacts of COVID. A lot of people are like losing their jobs. A lot of people are having to close their brick and mortar physical locations, and they need to still feed their families and generate revenue through some means necessary. So they're going online. What better way to go online than to go ahead and start on just standard Shopify? So that's really where we're seeing this influx. It's basically, a lot of companies are in survival mode. They're moving to online, and once they start seeing recognizable revenue, like a steady income stream through standard Shopify, that's when they start to move up in plans because they need either additional functionality, or they need to add more users to their account, or they want discounts on shipping rates or shipping fees. That's really what kind of puts them through those 3 core plans. And then once they start hitting like some pretty significant revenue numbers or have really specific requirements from a customization or resource perspective, that's typically when they're calling me, and we're talking a little bit more about Shopify Plus. But it's pretty crazy what we see. A lot of businesses start off on Shopify, but that's really what Shopify Plus came to be. I think it was who was it? Chubbies. It was Chubbies, I'm pretty sure.
I have Chubbies bathing suit.
Yeah, like the short company, it was Chubbies, and there was like another one as well where they were basically like, I think like doing like $2 or $3 million online and still on like standard Shopify, and they were like, hey, we're gonna move off of the platform and go to someone else because you guys don't offer like this resource or this service. And the founders were basically like, hey, we should just go ahead and charge extra and offer this and call it Shopify Plus. So they basically did. It was the same platform, just offered dedicated merchant success manager to help with more strategic feedback and support. And that's how we kind of took off.
Cool. So this channel is kind of more focused around like small, sole proprietors or freelancers who work for themselves through Fiverr. So what I'm interested in is, like you mentioned, people go to Shopify, or Shopify has grown based on this influx of people going online. So are a lot of the types of businesses that are using Shopify and going online like small drop shipping companies? Are they like, I don't know, small personal people's clothing brands? Like what is the stage where like a small one-person company says, okay, I need Shopify, I'm going to Shopify, and what type of businesses do they run?
Yeah, great question. It really like it's basically anyone. So yeah, drop shipping is obviously very prominent still in terms of e-commerce and those people that are looking to get online and make like fast money pretty quickly. I mean, it's so low cost, it's so low risk. Like you don't need to buy product. You can basically just go ahead and plug in an app called Oberlo where it sources your product for you, and then you choose which ones you list on your website. So it's not like you're
Well,
like,
like the risk for them would be paying for Shopify, right? Like if it's that easy, there's like probably such a small profit margin, right?
yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. Like, not a lot of companies have like that much success. Like, some hit it rich. Like, right? I think. Well, on the first recording that we messed up on, I spoke with a Swedish guy that was 17 in high school, and he was doing like 1.7 million euros a year online because he was drop shipping products from Alibaba and AliExpress, and a couple keywords or rankings on Google fell out of place or something happened, and his was like the first ranked. Um,
And he got
Store.
crushed. Or...
Yeah, well, no, because he's drop shipping. He doesn't host the product. Someone comes
Oh, the
online.
money train just stopped.
So
Like,
no. That's how we became number one. The people that were ranked above him, they like disappeared, and then his was like the top ranked store in the Nordics. And he like called me. He's like, "Hey, I'm in high school. Like, this is just a side hustle." And I'm like,
am
"Dude."
I allowed to talk to you?
I'm like, "Do you have your parents' consent?" Like, he wasn't even he wasn't even, I don't even think, old enough or had a business registration number, so he couldn't even sign onto the Plus plan if he wanted to. So I basically told him to like hold on a couple of years, like let's like just enjoy it while you can. But
Wow.
so dropshipping is one aspect, but it could be anyone really. Like, my friend Olivia, she just started a like kind of like it's like a necklace. So everyone is obviously, COVID is very top of mind. Everyone's wearing masks, and basically it's like a necklace with these two little clips on it, so you can clip it onto the circles on the mask. We don't have a name for it.
It's like the thing that dentists clip onto the
Yes,
cloth,
exactly.
but fancy.
But fancy. So there's some have like black leather, some are pearl, some are for kids, some like have magnets, depending on like if you want easy tearaway, because it might be like a hazard at work or something like that. So she started selling these on just Instagram, and then I messaged her. I'm like, "Hey, you should go on Shopify and get your products online." So basically gave her a Shopify account. Now she's up online, so people from all over, rather than messaging her on Instagram, can now buy direct from like a website that's branded and has her products and images and stuff like that. So it could be like a small brand like that, right? Like your mom, like who's kind of going into retirement.
Okay, so for someone like her, like what was like she probably was not an expert on Shopify before using Shopify. Like for someone like her, what would be like the things that she would need to get set up? Like, do you just buy Shopify and it's up, or like do you need to hire someone to configure it?
It depends on really what you're after, right? So like typically these businesses that are like impacted by COVID, they have money, right? Like they have a physical location, they're closing the physical location. So they're like, okay, we're gonna have to allocate budget to actually build a good looking store. Obviously, Olivia is just looking for like a side hustle and like a hobby. So she's probably not gonna go ahead and hire like a freelance dev to go ahead and do the build for her. Once she starts seeing revenue and she says, hey, I actually need to make my store look really nice, then I'm gonna go ahead and invest some money. But these small companies that are looking at getting online, whether for the first time or now e-commerce is becoming a much larger concern or a larger focus for them, that's typically where they're going to go get Shopify, take a look at it, and be like, I can take my own pictures, or I can hire a photographer, but like, how do I make it look and operate the way these, like my competitors who have been online for 10 years are doing it, right? So they're calling web agencies and developers to basically build stores for them. They want them to go ahead and create a theme, build the content, add images, integrate into like potentially Xero or QuickBooks or accounting solutions. There's a bunch of things that like people just have never done before, but they now need to do overnight in order to actually keep the lights on. So it's
okay. So I guess what I was getting at with that question is like, you know, I'm interested in finding ways that people who want to freelance can make money on the side. So when I hear about your friend Olivia starting on Shopify, in my head, as someone who's worked in tech, I'm like, okay, she wants to really do this and scale. She's probably going to need help from a consultant or something. So like, it sounds like there's a market. Like if you're someone who's savvy and wants to learn Shopify, you can develop the skills and then probably sell your services as a consultant. Like people do that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, looking at like what Shopify does, and like before I worked at Shopify, I worked at Salesforce with Mike. And I'm not like a developer, I'm not a coder by any means, but once you start playing with the platform, you understand what Ruby on Rails is and HTML and JavaScript and all these things. And I still don't know how to use 90% of it. I've been here for like 4 years, right? Like I can do a really good demo of Shopify Plus, but if someone asks me to go ahead and change the look and feel of a checkout, like there's no chance I'm ever going to be able to touch that. So like people that want that sort of stuff are going to call agencies and freelance developers to do these one-off builds to make sure that they do it, number one, correctly, but because they don't have the know-how. And this is really specific for like the look and feel of a store, right? So there's really kind of 3 methodologies that we look at, or 3 ways to really build on Shopify. The first is to go ahead and do what Olivia did. You take an existing theme, so the look and feel of a store, the skin of the store that's on the Shopify theme store, you go buy it or you pick a free one, and you just take your content and plug it in. And it's going to look just like probably 1,000 other Shopify stores. It's not going to have any sort of like difference in terms of like aesthetic. Again, everyone does this who's starting out. And then there's the more professional setting where they're taking this existing theme from the Shopify store, they're getting a development partner or freelance dev to go in and edit it, to change the layout of some portions of it, to change the branding, to move fields, add additional fields, all that sort of stuff. And obviously that's a service that someone like Fiverr can offer. And then there's the more custom route, which is typically what we see in the enterprise space. Not a lot of companies are taking an existing theme out of the box and just plugging it in when they're doing $50 million per year online. So they'd go and hire a dev or an agency to go ahead and do a custom build from start to finish. They're going ahead and actually like developing wireframing the entire store to fit what the customer wants, look and feel. They might even take pictures for them for products. They might actually put in the description of the products. They might, dump like 1 million files in CSV format to Shopify from previous orders and order information, customer lists, and all that sort of stuff.
Cool.
Tons that they can do.
Cool. So if you were someone who wanted to be a freelancer and Shopify services are the services you wanted to sell, what do? Is there a certification? Do you just practice? Like, how do you practice? Like, how do you learn?
Yeah, great question. So you can go ahead and sign up to be a Shopify expert. I'll send you over the link after because I forgot to do it on the first call. So I'll send you after this, where essentially people can sign up to be Shopify experts, where essentially they get it's kind of just like an admin portal where they basically have the back end of Shopify where they can do testing of customizations. They can build their own themes. Basically, it's a sandbox environment. You can do whatever you want within reason. There's also like a ton of like tutorials on it. There's developer resources, which again, I'll send over after the call, where it's just documentation. So if I put on single sign-on API, so let's say customer wants that, you can put it in single sign-on API. It'll pull up every document regarding APIs with that specific feature. So you might not know how to do it, you might not know what it is, but there's still going to be documentation. I'd also get caught up on Ruby on Rails. So our founder Toby is one of the founding fathers of Ruby on Rails, but he really likes it, and a lot of the platform is built on it. HTML obviously is top of mind for any sort of look and feel and theme. JavaScript, all of those things are, if someone has even knowledge in JavaScript or HTML, you can learn Ruby on Rails pretty quickly. It's just a lot of these skills are transferable.
Okay.
Just start using it and get in.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because a lot of the people who watch this channel and a lot of sellers on Fiverr have those skills. Like you mentioned, a lot of coding stuff, like HTML, Ruby on Rails. I think you said C+, all this stuff that I know nothing about, but people know stuff about. So when I hear this, I'm like, okay, there's an opportunity to make money in the Shopify ecosystem. Having those skills is one aspect. So if you're someone watching this interview and you know how to do any of that, the only piece of the puzzle that's missing is figuring out Shopify. So if you could figure out Shopify and figure out how to add value to people who are using Shopify, using your existing skills, what I'm trying to tell you and the reason Matt's on here is you can capitalize on that. You can make money. It's going to take time. It's going to take work and effort, but you can do it. So that's another revenue stream you could probably follow down Shopify. And like Matt's nodding and smiling. I'm going to take it that he's like, yeah, definitely for sure.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's something that we see like all the time. Again, like I just work with, I'm not going to name their names because I think we're under NDA, but like a 50 million cosmetic brand in the UK that they asked me for a bunch of recommendations for agencies in the UK, and I gave them like 3 or 4 of our best agencies. And like, I mean, you're speaking to them, you're doing a build, like a redevelopment or migration that starts at maybe £50,000. They essentially just went and looked at our directory and went into the Shopify expert directory and just did a search and found a 2-person business, like a small development agency, called them up and liked them, and hired them and keeping them on retainer. So
that probably changed the game for that business. Probably.
Well, you go from maybe doing like 1 or 2 projects or 5 projects a year that total what these people are probably paying you in 6 months.
Wow.
Right. And then they'll go ahead and retain you for SEO services. So again, if you're an SEO or AdWords or Facebook marketing or any of these things, it's so pertinent for businesses to go ahead and employ someone or even just get someone to come on and help them for a month or 6 months or a year. And just, again, if you know this stuff, you're really good at it. If you're doing AdWords or Facebook pixels for these people and they're seeing revenue based on what you're doing for them, they're going to retain you. You're going to end up making them the more money you make them, the more money you ask for, right? So
yeah,
it's like anything. The results are there. And they're going to.
Yeah, like when I look at this, I think of it as like there still is a huge opportunity to make money in Salesforce's ecosystem. Salesforce is huge, taking up huge market share. If you can become a partner who knows something about Salesforce, you're going to make a killing. I feel like that's the same with this. Like you can.
Yeah. I mean, because there's a couple ways to do it, right? There's also like referrals. So let's say you're starting to speak to someone who reaches out to you, and you're like, these people would be a good fit for Shopify, but they never heard of it. You can submit a referral. So basically, you submit a referral in, and you get like a small rev share based on the referral that you just submitted. They don't even actually need to use you as a development partner.
Wow.
Obviously,
you just farmed it. You farmed
it, right? You made the introduction, so you can build it up that way. But what's really cool, it's almost like I want to say it's like a video game per se. When you become a Shopify expert, you start at like level 0. Like if you were like a Zelda character, you'd be like Link when he has like the shittiest shield and like a crappy like dagger or something like that. After a certain amount of referrals and builds, these people start to rank you, right? Like the companies you work with are going to give you like 4 stars, 5 stars, and so on. And once you hit a certain threshold, you're now going to be listed on the Shopify store. So if I'm in like Bangladesh and I'm Shopify dev, and someone searches for me, I'm like one of the first 10 partners in that region that's to be listed. Well, I'm going to get a lot of requests. Or again, like people in the UK, they're looking at cutting costs right now. Impact has hit like a lot of things really hard. Like some places have been in lockdown for like 7 months, right? So they're looking at saving costs and getting devs in India or anywhere. So you can potentially land some pretty sweet clients and not have a ton of experience just based on the fact that SEO or AdWords or you're good at Ruby.
Yeah. Well, man, I worked for a startup and we used a dev team in India, and like if you can do good work, you will get the work. Like it doesn't matter where you are. You know what I mean? Like. So that's awesome. And a lot of the viewers on this channel are from all over the world. Like you mentioned Bangladesh, like people are all over. Fiverr is like global. So for anyone watching this, if you have the skills, take the time to just learn Shopify and you can make a killing.
Yeah,
or you could. I'm not
again, there's a ton of things that you can start to do. I think what's really interesting, and I've kind of heard about it, I don't necessarily recommend it, is like once people hit a certain level of success from an e-commerce perspective in terms of doing builds. Let's say someone comes to them and they're like, well, we need you to do SEO or AdWords. Well, I'm a Ruby developer, or I'm really good at HTML. Let me go find someone who I trust that can do this project, and you start to have a collective, or you start your own agency. You start with yourself and you add another person. That's how a lot of these agencies have come about. They've been developers who are really good at code, and then they were working on Magento or WordPress or these other platforms that Shopify came on, and then they started getting a lot of calls for it, so they learned it. But they didn't have those skills. They like partner with other people who had skills to do certain things. And now, there's massive agencies out there that like tens of millions of dollars a year just doing Shopify. So it's not.
That's awesome. A huge opportunity. So moving on here. Sorry, I just had one question I didn't want to forget about. So this morning, actually, I saw an update. The Shopify is like partnering with TikTok.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, so
what does that mean?
So think of it like influencer-led like marketing, essentially. So let's say I don't know their names, but like one of those people that do the dances, and then at the end they were to hold like toothpaste. You can now like essentially click that toothpaste on
Fit tea.
Like Fit tea or like whatever it is, skinny tea or whatever whatever is a trend right now. Click it.
So Shopify is partnering so that if you're a TikTok influencer, you can someone clicks it and Shopify manages all that process. Like
you got it. So if like let's say I'm selling, I don't know, what am I, an All Saints sweater, and I'm an influencer, and you're like, hey, I'm like a model on TikTok, and I go, hey, you can click this link and shop this look. And it'll like you click it and it'll add it to your cart. You can just pick your size really quickly. It's kind of similar to like Instagram shopping, right? Like what people are doing on Instagram. Picture of like a Birkin bag or whatever. It's crazy.
I don't know anyone buying a Birkin bag through Instagram, but that'd be impressive.
You got to see that Shopify stock find. Just kidding.
Well, that's another opportunity. Like one of the things that a lot of people do on Fiverr is manage social media stuff, like either building marketing campaigns or helping people sell through like Instagram. So like this is another one. Like TikTok is blowing up. If you have experience with TikTok and you learn Shopify, like Matt said, you can help people, configure their TikTok sales experience, right? Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And again, this is like, I mean, I'm not even 30 and TikTok is extremely foreign to me. And
I know. I'm stuck with it. I don't even have it.
Yeah. I consider myself like a pretty like cool guy. But like if that's the case, like there's so many think about how many businesses are out there that haven't tapped this market or don't even sell on Instagram or don't have an Instagram following, but they're like a well-known brand. Like these are tons of ways that you can help like capitalize based on what you know, based on like, your experiences in that space. Right? So it's pretty interesting.
That's awesome. So just quick little time check here. So we've been going for like 25 minutes. I have a few more questions, but is there anything that you think would be relevant? Like you're the expert here, like Fiverr is a freelance platform. What did I miss? Like where's the opportunity in your eyes? Stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the opportunity really lies on like opportunity is going to come, I think, right? Like if you have like expertise in something and you go ahead and put it on Fiverr and you do a good job, other opportunities are going to knock. But I think the biggest thing is get started. Like, don't wait for these opportunities like come to you. Like, start like reaching out to brands, start reaching out to businesses, start saying like, hey, can I do this? Or hey, like, can I offer to do like a small project next time it comes up, or do like a one-time like customization or like tell you about my SEO strategy or like ways that I think you can do that for business. And like from there, that's how you get a chance, or you do like a one-off for very low cost, and then they go ahead and give you a review, and then that review leads to more bookings, right? For these opportunities. A lot of these agencies that I've heard about, or small businesses who have gotten like held on retainer for SEO and marketing, it's because they built a relationship based on like offering a service for free or something like that. I'm not saying like just do it for free forever, but like get your foot in there. I also think what's really important right now is generally care about who you're working with or on behalf of. Put the customer at the forefront of everything you do, right? Like a lot of people right now are like in dire straits. They're looking for assistance, they're looking for help. This is their livelihood. And if they're going to you and asking for help, like help, like do the due diligence, do the research on that sense. But in terms of like what I focus on, I focus on getting a jump on Shopify, like do some reading, do some learning, watch a ton of YouTube videos, Mike's on YouTube, so if he's on YouTube, there's probably someone doing Shopify chats and stuff like that. So there's a ton you can kind of dig in with. But I'd say like do your due diligence, put in the work beforehand, so that way when the opportunity does knock, you're gonna just smash it. So
cool. No, that's good tips. Like one thing that we talk about a lot on Fiverr is when you're starting out, like getting your foot in the door, work for cheap. Like do a couple low cost projects to get ratings and build a brand and then grow from that. So I like that you said that, because that's something that I try to hammer home, but people hate hearing because everyone's like, I don't want to work for free. Well, it's like, then don't make money, you know, like how are you going to be competitive if nobody knows who you are? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So that's good. I just have one more question for you, and then we can kind of simmer this out, and you can be on with your day. But we talked about
I got all the time in the world for you, Mike, man. Slow down.
So when we talked about like the opportunity with Shopify, like a big part, and I want to reiterate this, is a big part of that opportunity is offering services, freelance, to help people do more with Shopify, right? So like the term I'm going to use is like implementation. You could be an implementation partner. You can be someone who helps Shopify sellers take it to the next level with their stores, designing better storefronts, doing this, scaling, being like an SEO specialist for Shopify stores. So the question I have for you, Matt, is one easy thing that I think people can latch onto here with regards to what services to offer. I think a good starting point is quick starts. Like for someone new to Shopify, you can offer like a bundled service where you basically take them from clicking pay on Shopify and creating their first store to selling their first product, a quick start, setting up everything along the way. My question for you, Matt, is what do you think a reasonable price would be for a quick start for a small business?
Yeah, great question. So it could range, right? Like if you're an experienced developer, like a quick start might be like that initial package I talked about, where you're using like an existing theme right out of the box. So like me, for example, like I'm again not a developer. If someone were to call me and be like, "Hey Matt, I need a Shopify store. Here's 100 products. Here's 100 prices. Here's 100 images. Here's the description of all of these. Build me a store in 5 hours." I'd probably be like, "Oh, okay, like I can do that." It'd be pretty easy like, once you like know how. But like, what would I charge them? I mean, you got to like think about like your experience and like what other things. Like, I think like a quick start, like a very very basic build, you'd probably be looking at like $1,000 like $5,000, let's say.
And these quick starts from a work perspective, like $1,000 could be like a day of work, right? 10,000 could be like a week of back and forth. Which so either case, it's good money if you know what you're doing.
Exactly. So you got to think about it in terms of like time to migrate, right? So a lot of these businesses might have like, again, there's new businesses that are looking at getting online for the first time, and then there's migrations where they might have like a WordPress store or a WooCommerce store, or like a Lightspeed or Magento, or just have like old CSV files or like Excel files saved from customers in their physical locations that they now want to upload online. Like migrations take time, right? So if you have like 100,000 customers, that's not going to just be like a one day. Like you're gonna have to reformat that. Like that might take a couple of days to reformat depending on like what it is. So obviously you're going to charge for that. Like there's different levels of this. I'd say like a basic build one to probably 5,000. If you're doing a $5,000 basic build with an existing theme, I number one would hope to see like it look really good. There'd be a lot of products. Like I mean, there's a reason why you're charging more is because the migration and like the content description is going to take you some time. But that would probably be like a starting point.
Okay.
And a level 2 would be like, again, taking that theme and doing like a customization to that theme, and potentially, again, it's an existing commerce brand, probably again anywhere between 1 to 10 to 15K, depending on complexity, orders, what they have, what they don't have, plugging in specific apps, integrations into accounting solutions or an ERP solution, who knows what they have behind the scenes, and then like a full-on build, and that could cost you 0 to 30K on one of the standard plans. It could go up to 50K, it could go to 100K. Like there's no.
That all depends.
Yeah. It really depends, right? Like I like it's interesting though, because a lot of times what happens is on standard plans, like our core Shopify, we always think direct to consumer, right? Like selling a product directly to the end user. But a lot of B2B companies come to Shopify and just go on the standard plan and have a password protected locked out store. So you never see what it looks like behind the scenes. It's like a fairly robust offering. And then they have integrations into like a backend system that manages the B2B orders. That integration alone might cost 10 grand that you have to build. They might be doing $10 million online per year and nobody even knows because they're going out of business, right? So like each project's going to be fairly unique, but I probably priced it at very basic 1 to 5K, advanced build 1 to 10K, and then like a premium. I know what I'm doing. There's backend integrations. You're probably doing like maybe $1 million, close to $1 million online already. You're looking at 1 to probably like 30K. But I could go into the 50K range, 100K. Like it varies.
Wow. So like, I mean, like if I'm thinking about people watching this video, anyone with a ton of Shopify expertise probably knows that they could charge that much, right? So like if you're a Shopify master, you're not going to undervalue your services. You've gotten there through trial and error and learning, right? So would it be fair to say that if you're totally new, you want to start out with this and you are willing first to put in the time to learn and become proficient with Shopify, your first project could be anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000.
Yeah, I probably. So what's great about like when you become like one of those ranked Shopify developers on the developer search is that you can actually put like what your projects range from. So like someone who's just starting out who might only have like 3 reviews or 5 reviews, projects like starting at 0 to 5,000. Of course, like if it's 0 to 5, they will still take on like a $50,000 project. But like you can set those parameters or say like I won't touch a project that's under $3,000 and so on.
Wow.
So you can set your own kind of agenda per se.
Wow, that's huge. Like, dude, I do very well on Fiverr, and like $3,000 a month is a lot for me. So like imagine doing a quick start as a Shopify partner or implementation person, you're making 3Gs a week. Like
yeah. I mean, like you see it, right? And I think that's the thing is that like there's quite a bit of money like to be made. Like I know people that have worked at Shopify that have opted for roles where, so I have like what you call like a non-compete per se. Like I can't go ahead and start my own business, implement and like it's a conflict of interest. Like me selling Shopify and then implementing it. Like obviously like that would make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
There's people at Shopify who've taken like far lesser roles in order to offer their services to implement. So they might make like 30K a year working at Shopify, but they'll make 100K running their own e-commerce business.
Wow.
Like I know a guy that like was one of my support guys that would like give me my leads, and he has a $3 million per year business on Shopify while he's working at Shopify, and now he lives in a $500,000, like a $500,000 house in Colombia. And if you can imagine like what $500,000 gives you in Colombia, so
living large, man.
Yeah. So
what did he sell? Out of curiosity, if you can share, what did he sell?
Yeah, so he's from Canada. He made it big just at the start of when cannabis became legal. So he sells basically cannabis farming equipment. So you can shove a whole plant in and it'll basically slice it and dice it. And he sells like special light bulbs. Interesting market, but
he's the cannabis king. Wow.
there's some big ones out there, man. I mean, there's some huge ones.
That's incredible. So okay, that's wild. Like that's huge. I mean, so if you wanted to get to that point, like, and you wanted to sell these $3,000 to $5,000 quick starts for Shopify, in my head, and one thing that I would preach to everyone is don't do this if you suck, right? Like obviously don't give people a bad experience, but that's not necessarily true. Learn. I think learn. Like education's like the first thing. Like educate yourself. Yeah. So that's my question. How do you become a wizard? Like, is there like a free version or a demo tenant or org that people can use to learn? Because my biggest fear is people watch this, like, oh, I'm going to say that I'm the best Shopify person, and they bomb for like 10 companies, and then they get sued. Like, that's a nightmare.
Yeah. I mean, it's something to like laugh at, but like, yeah, I'd hope that never happens. But I mean, the developer, like signing up to be a developer, you get a developer account, so you can be a developer on the basic plan. You get a
Is it
sandbox
free?
provide. It's free, yeah. You can just become it. So they might put some parameters in place. Like I've heard that they potentially might ask like what your URL is, like if you have an existing business. So like if you are a freelancer, if you have like a website at present, like they'll probably request that, like your business information.
Okay.
You can also like the most basic Shopify plan. I think there might be like there was Shopify Lite like years ago. I think it was like $9 per month. The most basic one that's still around is $29 per month. Again, really good way to dig in there and to learn. And then there's again documentation that I'll link to you. There is tons of YouTube stuff. Like, I mean, when I don't know something, sometimes I jump on YouTube. I'm pretty tech savvy when it comes to like selling a solution.
Yeah.
But like if I want to like have a walkthrough of how to build like a script on Ruby, like I mean, you can jump on Reddit. One time I was trying to build this script for 3.5 hours. I basically just kept getting this error code. I literally jumped on Reddit, did a search, found the script I was looking for within 5 minutes, copied and pasted it, and it worked perfectly. So
Reddit, best, man.
yeah, it's crazy. Was never really big into Reddit until like recently. Now it's like a wormhole, just weird. But great way to learn on there. But yeah, YouTube videos, Reddit, help section. So I'll send a link to the help center, the developer resource kits. Basically from there, you should be able to like get started in terms of like learning, and then just your curiosity will dig you further into the kind of underground wormhole that is Shopify. And in a month's time, you'll be calling me saying you made like $2 million and you're 14 years old in mom's basement. So.
Cool, man. Well, if you could send all those links, that'd be awesome. I'll include it in the description of the video. But if people watching this decide to go down this path and they have questions and they want to like validate their Shopify business idea, I know you work there and I know you're probably busy, but would you be, if I saw these replies and I was like, oh, this is a question for Matt, is it cool that I tell people that they can contact me and I'll pass them on to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, my name's Matt Monette, Monette is my last name. So Matt is my first one. I don't know why I spelled my first and last name backwards, but again, you can always DM, like I get tons of requests and DMs on LinkedIn as is, but I always take time to respond and try to like point you guys in the right direction. But yeah, hit up Mike. And again, happy to help. And, Mike's a pretty knowledgeable guy, and, probably a week, he'll probably know more about this stuff than me. So yeah, chase him down first.
All right, cool. Well, that's it. That's all the questions I had, man. Thanks for doing this. We'll get the recording up on YouTube, and I'm sure there will be questions for you. So, you said it. Get ready.
Yeah, absolutely. No worries. Happy to help. And again, I've always wanted to do this. I've never been on like a YouTube thing, but if you guys are watching the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and add a comment as well into the YouTube thread down below, because that helps with the algorithm. And I want Mike to make more than $3,000 per month so he can retire and take me out to a nice dinner for doing this for him next time I'm back in Canada.
That's amazing. I might use that for all my videos if it works. So
yeah,
I'll just take that snippet and just reuse it, give you some royalties.
Sweet, man.
Awesome. Well, thanks, dude. Have a good rest of your day.
Appreciate it.